Season 4, Episode 40 of Brackets, Bubbles, and Bit Stealers. I am Sam Fetterman. That is Jonathan Lipskin. Thank you so much for joining us today on the eve of one of the biggest days of college basketball all year. And here joining us to get us started with the previews is Brendan Marks from The Athletic. He covers both Duke and North Carolina. God, that's got to be some job.
I'm very grateful for it. Yeah, especially this week. It's these Duke UNC games are like my Christmas. So hope we get 3 of them this year.
Yeah, but it's probably a lot of work leading up to Christmas. Probably a lot of features, a lot of preview, a lot of podcasts. I mean, what's this week been like?
Yeah, no, it's a lot for sure. Obviously both teams played this week too, so you're watching those, and North Carolina unfortunately dropped it. So I don't think that takes a lot of shine off of it, but. And then both schools have their, this is one of the only weeks of the year that both schools have like press conferences dedicated just to make players available for this. When Coach K was the coach at Duke, actually, this was the only time in the entire season outside of after games that he would talk to the media. So it's a fun week. I like talking to people, and this is going to be a really good game. There's going to be a lot of good games on Saturday, but this is going to be a really good one.
Yeah, obviously. This is like the most heated. This is the most heated rivalry. I'm a Duke fan, so I grew up with it. Like, what's it like being in sort of like the middle zone and then like the neutral side of this?
Yeah, so I'm a North Carolina graduate, but I didn't grow up like in North Carolina, so I didn't necessarily grow up with the rivalry. And so people always think that I'm a UNC homer, and then sometimes there are people who think I'm a Duke homer, which I think is funny. I'm going to be honest with you guys. I root for 2 things. I root for the best story, and I root for no overtime because it gets me home sooner. It's I have a really cool position in that I get to write about the winner. So like at the Final Four a couple of years ago, if Duke had won, I won because I got to write about Coach K go to the national championship in his final game. And if they lost, which ended up happening, I got to write about UNC vanquishing Coach K in the only time they'd ever met. So like I really do kind of, it's like that Always Sunny meme. Like I like to play both sides, so I always come out on top.
Yeah, so UNC had one of the longer winning streaks going in college basketball. They were the last power conference team to be undefeated in conference play. But they go to Atlanta, they go to Georgia Tech, and they lose to a Georgia Tech team that is still building things in year 1 with Damon Stoudemire. How do you think the Tar Heels can respond from that? Like, what do they need to focus on this week and in this game?
Yeah, I try not to take too much away from that game. Like at the end of the day, North Carolina had its worst shooting performance of the season. It missed half its free throws and still in a 1-possession game down 1 point had the ball and, arguably got fouled on the final possession. So like all things considered, you played that badly. You led by 11, like you lose a 1-point game. It happens, especially on the road. Like you mentioned, I think top 10 teams this season on the road against unranked teams have a losing record overall. So I'm kind of more impressed by the fact that it hadn't happened yet. There were multiple opportunities. I mean, I thought they'd probably fall to Florida State. So I try not to take too much away from it. I think the biggest thing is in the second half of that Georgia Tech game, UNC's shot selection was pretty poor, settled for a lot of things, kind of fell in love with the long 2 a little bit. And they got to figure out how to get Armando Bacot more involved. He's had single digits in 3 straight games. It's the first time that's happened since his freshman year. If he's not aggressive like that, then that really hurts their offense. And they can't really afford for that against Duke.
Yeah, I think we talk every year about that week leading up to Duke UNC. Since I guess like they used to play the first game on a weekday, right?
Yeah, it's been on Saturdays.
The weekday, I think.
Yeah,
they did some Thursday ones, but I think they've settled in. The TV overlords, we've settled in now with this routine.
Yeah, but ever since they did that, like you can't really ignore the fact that both teams are going to have a look-ahead spot before they play each other. And it's just something that I personally think, like, as a basketball player, you can't ignore that noise. Like, everyone that week is talking Duke UNC, and these guys still have another game to play. So I give Duke a lot of credit for going out and beating Virginia Tech the way they did. And I don't really fault UNC for losing at Georgia Tech either.
Yeah, I agree with both those things. I mean, on the Duke side, I thought it was really impressive that like it was a pretty close game for most of it. 6 or so points. Never really felt like Duke was in doubt. But to extend it and really pull away at the end of that one on the road in a place where you've lost 5 of the last 6, I thought was pretty impressive. And then, yeah, I know you mentioned Sam, like they're still building under Damon Stoudemire down there. I think he has been awesome this year. Georgia Tech has beat UNC, they beat Duke, they beat Clemson, they beat Mississippi State. Beat UNC basically without their best player. Ryan Dongo was out for basically the entire game. So I really like what he's doing down there. I think they're super underrated, super feisty. They're long, they're athletic. So yeah, I try not to lean too much into it. But it's this week. Like, you got to deal with distractions. I don't think North Carolina lost because it was looking ahead to Duke. I think it lost because it missed a lot of open shots and settled for a lot of long twos when it could have driven or could have taken the three.
If you look at just the shooting splits for North Carolina's opponents in ACC games, they're preposterous. I mean, they're holding teams to under 27% from beyond the arc. Georgia Tech was the first team to really have success shooting the ball, 45% from three, 9 for 20. And even then, Georgia Tech didn't have much success inside the arc. You've probably focused a lot more watching Carolina than we have. What do you think has gone into just the total rebirth of this defense into just something that's going to force everyone to miss everything?
Yeah. So, for the season now, North Carolina's up to the top 5 in Ken Palm's adjusted defensive efficiency rankings. And, for a while there, from Christmas on, they were actually the number 1 team in the country. They moved ahead of Houston temporarily, and that's regressed a little bit now. Georgia Tech hit some crazy shots in that game too. I mean, like, they're banking in threes and stuff, like some truly wild shots. Honestly, they did the same thing against Duke. But to me, I think it's been more about small tweaks for UNC's defense rather than wholesale changes. They've adjusted some of their ball screen coverages. They're playing Armando Bacot a little bit higher up to touch. He's been higher, closer to the level of the screener. And we tried that last year and it didn't work as well. He was a little bit heavier, a little bit more slow footed. He's covering a lot more ground, has been a much, much more mobile big in drop coverage. And that's been a big part of it. Their guards are chasing a lot better over screens too, which they're going to have to do against Duke. You go under, Duke screens, and Proctor and McCain and Roach and those guys are going to bury you. So it's been tweaks like that. They've started weakening. They're trying to force people to their wrong hand. I think that's helped too. And then I think the other thing, just generally, like, for the first time since Hubert Davis has been head coach, UNC has some lineup versatility. He's not playing 5 dudes. Like, he's got action. If he wants to go small, he can play 3 guards. If he wants to go big, he can play Jalen Washington and Armando Bacot together. So the lineup flexibility has allowed him to do different things and to maybe match each individual defensive game plan, make it a little more tailored to that opponent, if that makes sense.
On the Duke side of this, obviously they've struggled with some injuries really since John Shire took over last season. How do you think, obviously Mark Mitchell's healthy now, but Jeremy Roach has been hobbled. He's playing through what I think is an ankle injury. How do you think that affects Duke's game plan and their chances tomorrow?
Yeah, well, to start with Jeremy, I did think he is hobbled. Like, he's not 100%. He wasn't 100% most of last season, dealing with turf toe. And this year it was the knee, and then it was the ankle. I think it's probably a little bit of both right now, to be honest. But I thought he moved decently well against Virginia. The thing that he does for Duke that nobody else on that roster provides is, if you need somebody to just one-on-one blow past somebody, it's Jeremy Roach. Jared McCain's not that fast. Tyrese Proctor's not that athletic. Caleb Foster doesn't have that burst. That's a Jeremy Roach job. So I think that he showed he could do that against Virginia Tech, and they're going to need him to do that against Carolina. As far as Mark Mitchell, he to me is kind of like the X factor for Duke in this game, obviously, but just moving forward. The way the roster is constructed with so many guards and then Kyle Filipowski, like, kind of looking around the wing room, like, it's like that John Travolta, like, where is everybody? Where are the wings? Mark Mitchell is the guy who does that. I think Duke is 25-2 the last 2 seasons when he hits double figures. Like, he is the X factor. And so that matchup with him and Harrison Ingram is going to be really interesting. I would expect UNC to bring out Jalen Withers and give him some time on Mitchell too, just to throw another athletic body at him. But the injury aspect of it, like, I think all things considered, based on where Duke has been the last 2 years, they are somewhat healthy.
Yeah, Mark Mitchell has been, I think you said it, Duke's X factor last year and this year. They were a completely different team on both ends against Tennessee last year in the tournament without him. And then, I mean, just looking at this, he's the number 1 player in points per possession in the month of January. Like, Duke has found so much success using him in this kind of like short roll, like cutting off ball screens kind of stuff. that they just like couldn't figure out for the first couple months of the season. But their usage of him has completely changed their season.
Oh, totally.
And I think something else about this Duke team is how mature their freshman guards are. Foster and McCain, compared to previous freshman classes, they are not scared of any moment. I caught them at Madison Square Garden when they played Baylor, and those two started the game with the energy and they finished the game with the energy. And that's just not something that you see a lot of freshman guards be able to do at that level. And just having them be a stability for this team, because you don't think about freshmen as being the stabilizers, but those two have really been stabilizers for what Duke is trying to do this year.
Yeah, McCain especially. I mean, he's been, we recently at The Athletic did a nationwide, all freshman team, and he obviously was on there. He's been sensational. The thing that I think actually I'll be interested to see how much he can do. I think he's one of the better rebounding guards I've seen in quite a while, especially for his size. I mean, he had 10 boards the other day. And especially against North Carolina, that's sort of UNC's bread and butter. Like, he's going to have to be able to be in there and be able to win some of those. So, but he's been great. I mean, he again, is Jared McCain like the do everything player? No, but he is such a good complementary player for the rest of what Duke wants to do in terms of gang rebounding, in terms of shooting the ball, like as an off ball threat. He as a freshman, again, like you're talking about, he's just as competent or capable as any like senior, off-ball weapon. So I've been really impressed by him, his maturity. Obviously, he's got to handle all the haters through social media and TikTok and his fingernails and everything. He's handled that. He's handled the game pressure. Like, he's just a really impressive kid.
One thing that I cannot believe we haven't really gotten to yet is like we're 12:30 into this podcast.
We haven't mentioned either team's best player.
Yeah, we haven't talked about UNC's potential first-team All-American. Talk us through RJ Davis' kind of late leap in his career, and how I hate to ask this, but like how much of it do you think has to do with the fact that Caleb Love's now playing out west?
Yeah, well, first of all, I wouldn't say potential first-team All-American. I mean, I don't really think that's up for if the season ends today. He is like it's not even close.
Yeah.
He's been the most productive guard in the country. Like, I know Tristan Newton's great up at UConn. Isaiah Stevens stuffs the stat sheet, but like kind of hard to argue with RJ's production. I do think a lot of it obviously is, the fact that the backcourt is much more centered towards him now. Like, you just can't avoid that. Like, Hubert Davis had two combo guards, both of whom lean towards scoring. And it's hard when you do that to have either one of them really embrace the playmaking role. Like, I thought North Carolina, during its run to the Final Four 2 years ago, that was the balance that really allowed that offense to take off. Was Caleb Love really settled into the I'm going to just shoot the ball every single time I touch it role, which he's never had a problem with. And then on the flip side of things, RJ Davis was averaging like 6 assists in the tournament. I mean, he turned into much more of a setup man, didn't lose any efficiency, and still, dropped a 30 burger. So he has been capable of doing this. It's just about the opportunity now. And in Elliot Cadeau, like the Elliot is not a transcendent offensive player. Like, his shot is still a work in progress. But what he does in terms of alleviating the creation burden for RJ has been huge. Just being able for RJ to focus on hunting his shot, not necessarily having to worry about setting up some of his teammates, being able to run the floor in transition rather than being the one always necessarily making the outlet pass. Like, those things have paid huge dividends. And the thing that I think is funny is UNC fans hated on Caleb Love so much last season, especially for like, man, he takes so many shots. Man, his usage rate is so high. RJ's usage rate right now is higher than Caleb's ever was. He's just doing it more efficiently. So it's been a really interesting dynamic, but he's been sensational.
Yeah, I mean, the key with Elliot Cadeau is you get a guy that is just so adept at running an offense. He can make pretty much any pass you need him to make. He's really good at moving smartly with the ball, creating leverage for his teammates to get open looks. And I think that his development throughout ACC play and throughout the season so far has been really impressive. And he's been the guy that's just able to unlock this offense for UNC. And on the Duke side, we haven't mentioned perhaps Duke's top player in Kyle Filipowski, who presents a matchup problem for a lot of the bigs that he faces. How do you think North Carolina can combat what Filipowski brings to the table?
Yeah, it's going to be tough. Like, Filipowski is a mismatch on everybody, and especially against a North Carolina team that, quite frankly, doesn't have a ton of front court depth. Filipowski this year, last year he had one game all of last season with 4 more assists. He's got 7 or 8 of those this season. His playmaking from the 5 position has been huge. And, Cuber Davis basically called him a 7-foot point guard this year. I don't know that he's quite to that level, but the ability that he has, he can score inside, he can score outside, he can pass out of doubles. I think he's actually been an underrated defender in space. Like, he can kind of do everything. He can switch. That's why Duke does. I think back to the first Duke UNC game from 2 seasons ago when UNC tried to have Armando Bacot defend Paolo Banchero, and he picked up 2 fouls in the first 3 minutes and the game was over. I think that it's going to similarly be a race to see who can get who into foul trouble between Armando and Kyle Filipowski, because it's the same on the Duke side. This is not a particularly deep front court. Like, you lose Kyle Filipowski, suddenly your guards are having to pick up a much heavier workload. But I do think that Filipowski is I wouldn't be surprised if UNC throws multiple looks at him. I think they'll double him at times, probably inconsistently, probably bring pressure from the baseline. They're going to have to do different things to get him off this game. He's in a little bit of a shooting slump right now, which means that he's due for a breakout, and UNC can't afford for that to be the game that it happens.
Yeah, I'm trying to pull it up right here on Evan Miyakawa's site, but I know Duke's defensive splits are just brutal when Filipowski's off the floor this year. I see Duke fans on Twitter pretty much every day talking about it. I'm trying to pull it up here.
Yeah, he's not he's got a negative wingspan. He's not like the best post defender or anything, but he does really provide a lot of stability there. And Mitchell, as a help defender, doesn't get nearly enough credit because he's awesome. He's superb.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like the thing when you take Filipowski off the floor and you have to play Ryan Young does a lot of great things. He also does a lot of bad things. For a guy that's been playing college basketball for 5 years, Ryan Young is maybe a little more mistake prone than you would like, but he does come in and make a lot of big plays that kind of keep Duke afloat at times. And he definitely did that when I saw them play at the Garden. He's done that in a few other games. He had that big rebound, I think, against Virginia Tech as well.
Yeah, Ken Palm listed him as their MVP for the Virginia Tech game.
I have no facts to actually back up this next statement I'm about to make, but I feel like he's getting called for way more travels than he did last year. I thought he was getting away with a lot last year.
Yeah, I mean, he can still be effective. I mean, I think he and John Shire understand he's not, a 20-minute per game player. It's got to be the way we talk about it in the media is this is or this is not a Ryan Young game. Is it going to be or not? I'm kind of shocked that it was as much as it was at Virginia Tech, to be honest. But he can have success against Bacot. I mean, he's a guy last year. He was really proficient in terms of drawing fouls. Was one of the better guys in the country in terms of fouls drawn per 40. So it's not the worst case matchup if Filipowski does get into foul trouble and you got to play Ryan Young a little bit. But obviously, being able to draw Bacot out of the post a little bit with Filipowski is going to open up a lot more for Duke.
Yeah, with Ryan Young, it's not size and skill that bothers him. It's guys that are way more athletic than him that you can't have him out there. And that's when, if that was the case, it would be Sean Stewart's time, which is what Duke fans have kind of been clamoring for all year.
Yes. So this is the 49th time that Duke and UNC are meeting up as top 10, ranked in the top 10. I got that note from the Eye on College Basketball podcast this morning. I can't not listen to that podcast every time it comes out. It's so good. It's apparently it's 8 miles as the crow flies. Jonathan, I'm sure you listened to it this morning.
I actually haven't yet. I had class this morning, so I wasn't able to.
But what is the key for Duke to win this game? Duke wins this game if
it can shut everybody but RJ Davis down. I don't believe that they are going to be able to contain RJ Davis. I think they're going to throw multiple guys at him. I think they're going to throw Proctor's length at him. I think they're going to throw Buchane's strength at him. I think they're going to throw Roach's quickness at him. Proctor especially, I think, has the last 5 games taken a step. He's averaging 17 points a game, shooting 48% from 3 the last 5 games. And defensively, he's back to being Duke's best perimeter attacker or defender. None of them are going to be able to stop RJ Davis. But what you can do is if you let him get his shots up, I do think that Duke has decent matchups otherwise across the board. You can't let Armando Bacot get going. You cannot let Armando Bacot have the he's back game. Harrison Ingram, I think, is a really interesting matchup with Mark Mitchell. You've got to make sure that he's not having, 15, 17, 19 rebounds like he has in ACC play most of the year so far. So again, like if Cormac Ryan beats you, if you're Duke, you tip your cap. Like that's sort of the way it is. But you can't let any of those other guys do it. It's RJ Davis is going to get his, try and limit it and make his life difficult, try and get the ball out of his hands. But Duke hasn't been a great defensive team that's all this year. Quite frankly, Duke's best defense in this game is going to be hitting from three. And I do think that that's something that they're capable of doing.
And then aside from just the inverse of that answer, how does North Carolina win this game? What can they do?
Yeah, I think UNC wins this game if it is able to get Filipowski in foul trouble for starters. You take him out of the game, it really makes Duke a lot more one-dimensional. And I think that UNC's size at that point can be a lot more overwhelming. Hubert Davis has been willing to play UNC in theory could play Armando Bacot, Jalen Washington, Jalen Withers, and Harrison Ingram at the same time. Like, do I think that's going to happen for a ton of minutes? No. But he has so many more size options that he can throw at Duke. Duke has really struggled against size and athleticism this year. So that's what you throw at him. And if Filipowski's out of the picture, then that completely changes things. And then, not to be a cop-out, but obviously the three-point shooters have got to hit. Shire built this roster on pace and ball movement and on three-point shooting. If Duke does not do those things, it doesn't have a chance to win. The margin for error is relatively thin for Duke this year. So all of the things point in North Carolina's favor and advantage going into this game. But absolutely, we know the way that we know the rivalry goes and the fact that Duke does have the three-point weapons that it does, I'm expecting this to be a pretty close one.
All right, and my last question for you. How long after the ESPN slot is scheduled to end, how long after does the game go?
Yeah. Oh my God. It's not going to be a fast game. The better question is how late is it going to start? How late is the game going to get pushed? But yeah, I mean, I'm not expecting this to be a close one or a quick one. That Virginia Tech Duke game first half flew by. They flew through the under 16, flew through the under 12. That's not going to be the case. If this is, what time is the ESPN slot supposed to end at?
ESPN slot is
I assume 8 Eastern, right?
It's a 6:30 game, so 8:30 technically.
8:30. It might go.
The next ESPN game after it, it's 8:30 Tennessee, Kentucky.
There are going to be some Tennessee and Kentucky fans that are not happy.
This game's not over till 9:00.
All right, I agree with you there. Thank you so much, Brendan, for joining us. We'll have a lot more preview for tomorrow's big games, including Tennessee, Kentucky, Houston, Kansas, right after this. And welcome back to Brackets, Bubbles, and Bid Stealers. Sorry about the janky thing there, but we have a big show in store for you tonight. Thank you so much, Brendan Marks, for joining us this afternoon to talk Duke UNC. Jonathan, how you doing?
Doing good. Just got back from covering high school basketball. I'm ready to talk some college basketball.
How'd high school basketball go?
Well, it was a good game. I'll say that. The reason I was excited for it is because it was my first chance in person in a very long time. I saw him once play briefly as a sophomore at Link Academy, but I got to see Aaron Rowe, who's a Mizzou commit tonight. He did not play well. Not his best one, but I did see a lot of traits that I think are definitely going to translate well to the college level. He's an excellent passer, despite the fact that he plays the two, and he's just super quick and athletic. So I think there's a lot of translatable traits there. It just wasn't his game tonight. The other team was really good, throwing a lot of good defenses at him. So it was a good game plan against him.
All right. A lot of good basketball on tap for tomorrow. Let's start at Fog Allen Fieldhouse, where the number one team in Ken Palm's rankings is a road favorite at the Fog. Trivia time. When was the last time a road team was favored at Allen Fieldhouse?
This is too easy. Baylor 2021, second game off their COVID pause.
All right. Who was the last team to be favored on the road before that at Allen Fieldhouse?
Yeah, I couldn't tell you.
Neither could I, because it hasn't happened since 1988.
That's nuts.
1988.
I'm like planning on betting on Kansas tomorrow. I feel kind of scared because that's all I've seen today. It's like, oh, how can you not take Kansas?
Yeah, I mean,
At
how
the end of the day, it's Kansas, it's Allen Fieldhouse, it's Bill Self. So, like, they're right. How could you not?
Like, at the end of this game, if Kansas doesn't have more points than Houston, I would be surprised.
It does have that kind of feeling, doesn't it?
Like, they're going to find some way to win this basketball game. I don't know what that way is. They're going to find a way.
Big Furphy game tomorrow.
Possibly, it could be a big day for our friend from the land of the kangaroo. I honestly think he's a huge X factor for them because everything that we know about Kansas boils down to their top 4 guys and then everything after that. And Furphy's kind of bridged that gap over the last couple of weeks because he's honestly been excellent. And I don't think we saw this coming, just how good he would be.
Yeah, I mean, the number one thing that Houston does defensively is, like, they protect the rim. So I think you hit it on the head when you said that he might be the X factor tomorrow because his off-ball movement and just, like, the fact that he can stretch the floor for you is going to be really key. Like, I mean, Kansas is going to have one of those freshmen step up tomorrow. It's been Furphy. Marco Jackson had a good game the other day. Not quite sure he's ready for a game like this. But if Kansas gets 4, if Kansas gets good games from 3.5 to 4 guys tomorrow, they will lose.
My thing about Kansas is they are really great when they get Furphy going, when they get El Marco going, and that's what happens for this team. Like against the most uninteresting team in the country in their last game, it was El Marco Jackson's best game in a while, probably because he scored double digits for the first time in a month and a half.
Yeah,
getting the ball moving is so important against the Houston Blitz because you have to make them rotate. When they double the ball, you have to move the ball. You have to be able to make those skip passes. DeJuan Harris can make those skip passes. I think the key for this game will be McCullough and DeJuan Harris as ball handlers making those skip passes, and I think they both can do it.
Yeah, I think DeJuan's going to be huge tomorrow. Like, what a I don't know if there's a better game for Kansas to have DeJuan Harris as their point guard. Like, obviously he hasn't had the year he had last year, but still an excellent passer. Has turned it over a little more than you would like to see from him this year. But he's gonna be huge tomorrow for them. Like you said it exactly. Houston is so aggressive and plays so hard that you just need a guy that can alleviate pressure, and that's exactly what he does. Kansas is also number 1 in the country, by the way, in assists to field goals made ratio.
Yeah, it's just a team that is really good at finding the open man.
Yeah, they are not a selfish basketball team. There is a lot of questions, I think, and rightfully so, about this Kansas team's identity, but they are not a selfish basketball team.
No, not at all. It's an excellent team in a lot of ways at creating good looks because they have advantage creators in terms of Dickinson, in terms of McCullough, and then the advantages that Harris can create with his passing ability.
Yeah, it's also gonna be super interesting to see how Kansas does. I think on like on the glass, because like they are a good defensive rebounding team. Like not spectacular, but good enough. And we know Adams can rebound. We know Dickinson's been a really good rebounder this year and throughout his college career. Can they keep Houston's bigs off of the offensive glass? If they can limit second chances for the Cougars, I think completely different ballgame.
I mean, that's one thing that Houston always does. And a fun thing about this game, by the way, is that Houston plays at the slowest pace in the Big 12. Kansas actually has played at the fastest pace of anyone in the Big 12 this year. Does that surprise you?
Yes and no. No, because like I typically think of Kansas as a team that likes to play fast, and like
I don't honestly like. I kind of think of them as like a moderate.
Maybe I'm not phrasing this right. I usually think about Kansas as a team that's excellent in transition when they got their opportunities.
I usually think of Kansas as a team that's really good in the half court, but like moderate, but like not slow paced.
If we're being honest, I just typically think of Kansas as a really well coached offensive team.
That's fair.
The reason it surprises me is because we talked all offseason about how this Kansas team was going to play through a back to the basket big. And typically the teams that do that aren't fast teams.
Yeah, and it's not like they shoot. It's not like they're running and gunning. And they're still not a super fast team. They're 111th nationally in pace. It's just that the Big 12 is a very slow league for some reason this year.
Yeah, it's
just the fact of the matter, there is not a team in the country as physical as Houston. And that's going to be Kansas's problem. I just don't know if they're physical enough in the backcourt to deal with guys like Jamal Shed and what Emmanuel Sharp is going to bring and what that Houston backcourt is going to bring to the table in this game. Because even LJ Cryer has been physical this year on the defensive end.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a guy that we questioned whether the fit was correct when he transferred there. We thought the fit was really good at Baylor, that offensive system for him. Houston and Calvin Sampson, they get the best defense that they possibly can out of everyone. That like one thing that you'll never ever have to worry about with Houston is their effort level will always be at the absolute highest possible level that they can get.
The other thing that I want to think about is, that they are going to be trapping. They're going to be using their monster trap every single time when Dickinson touches the ball. Mm-hmm. Dickinson's passing also has to be really important in this game. I think that if he's going to be able to hit those passes to the corner, to either corner, Kansas is going to win this game. And I just think that he creates too many advantages. He's too skilled to kind of succumb to this. He's seen too many college defenses throw everything they can at him. It's going to be a rock fight. It's going to be physical. It's going to be tough. But at the end of the day, like it's going to be like 71. Was that me or you?
I don't know. I switched to my hotspot just in case, but
did you hear what I said? Like it could be 71-69.
Yeah, I heard most of what you said. I also like 100% agree about Hunter Dickinson. Like you can call him dirty, you can call him kind of whatever you want. He's a smart basketball player, Like he understands like where to be on the floor. He understands.
And honestly, I think that's a step of his game that he's taken this year. He didn't really have that last year.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's part of where the empty calorie accusations came from.
Yeah, because he was just kind of doing it. Like there was nothing.
His coaching staff.
Yeah, the coaching staff stunk, as evidenced by the fact that they are dead last in the Big Ten.
I know this will come as a shock to some.
Their starting point guard didn't turn in his math homework, but
I know this will come as quite a bit of
Big Ten.
I know this will come as a shock to some people, but Juwan Howard to Bill Self is actually quite a great deal of an upgrade.
Yeah, I think it is. Is there anybody in high major basketball that upgraded more?
Ooh, that's a good question.
I mean, UConn got Spencer. Pike's good.
Yeah.
Houston got Cryer. Scott Drew's good.
Yeah. Baylor got a couple mid-major guys.
Yeah.
They don't really qualify. Because we're talking just high major basketball.
Lance Jones. Brian Mullins is good.
Yeah.
Better than Juwan.
Well,
who the heck is Northern Colorado's coach?
I think it's Dalton Connect.
That's what I was gonna say. I think it's Dalton Connect. His name is Steve Smiley.
That name rings a bell for some reason.
Let's Google his resume. And nothing against Steve Smiley.
No, dude. Northern Colorado's having a good year.
No, they really are. He was an assistant at Northern Colorado for 4 years, and now he's the head coach there. He won a lot of games at JUCO about a decade ago, which is nice. Is he better than Juwan Howard?
I mean, it's hard not to say yes.
All right. Mike Anderson to Greg Gard is...
No. I have your answer. And I know that this team is not having a great year, and I know that this player stinks. And I literally said the other night that he should never play a high major college basketball game ever again. But L. Ellis going from Kenny Payne to is a bigger upgrade than Juwan to Bill Self.
Going from Kenny Payne to Juwan Howard might be a bigger upgrade than going from Juwan Howard to Bill Self. And that's no offense to Kenny Payne, who I think is a nice guy, or at least I hope he's a nice guy. But at this point, that's all I can say about him. I think he's a nice guy. I still can't believe he hasn't been fired yet. Oh wait, hold on 1 second. One more thing. Just let me check. One more thing.
Mm-hmm.
Let me just see. Where are these guys at right now?
Where are who's guys at?
Oh, you don't want to know.
I might want to know.
Okay, here. Going from Rod Strickland to Todd Kowalczyk.
Yeah, it's pretty big. Great.
Was Marco Maletich. Going from Rod Strickland to Nick McDevitt. Jacob Johnson. Going from Rod Strickland to Chris Markwood. White Plains, New York's own Keon Burns. Going from Rod Strickland to Tony Skin. Trey Wood. Yes, I got it. Going from Rod Strickland to Gerald Gillian. Noble Crawford.
Oh my God.
I think we found the biggest upgrade in college basketball.
What are we doing here, man?
The biggest day of the college basketball season is tomorrow, and I'm reading off Noble Crawford transferring from LIU to Chicago State.
You got a prediction for the KU game?
A prediction for the what?
The KU game? Who are you taking to win?
I said Kansas, 71-69.
I'll take Kansas. Tyler Self with the game winner.
What do you think? Do you think Tyler Self is going to the game?
Remind me, I know. What? Remind me where he works.
Fern Financial Group.
Is that like near Lawrence?
I don't know. I'm going to look that up right now.
Yeah, you look it up.
Austin, Texas.
Oh, he won't be there.
You
He
sure?
won't be there. No, he actually is going to watch Rodney Terry tomorrow instead.
Who do they play tomorrow?
TCU on the road, making the trip to Fort Worth.
You think? You think? What's his face is going there?
Tyler Self?
I think Tyler Self flies up to Lawrence for this game.
Oh, I don't.
Why not?
No. He's not welcome back. Rumor on the block is you're only allowed back in Lawrence, Kansas if you've scored over 3 points in the NCAA tournaments.
Joel Embiid, not welcome back in Lawrence, Kansas.
All right. We have Big Z to talk about. Let's go.
Is Big Z going to play over or under 3 minutes in this game?
I can tell you who will play over 3 minutes. Dalton Connect.
Man, he's coaching Northern Colorado and playing more than 3 minutes for Tennessee.
Dude, he's in a lot of places. It's Dalton Connect. I don't question it. I've learned not to.
I texted you this today. Zach Edey, Dalton Connect, RJ Davis, Deron Holmes. The 5th spot is up for debate. You said Kevin McCullough.
In my opinion, it's Kevin McCullough.
That's your first team All-America right now.
Yes. I don't do it by position, so I could entertain other guys.
Close?
Huh?
You think Big Z is close?
I mean, if he stopped playing after that Georgia game, he might be.
If he stopped playing after that Georgia game, he's in the College Basketball Hall of Fame.
I'm not even joking. He should have declared for the draft after that Georgia game.
Oh, no, he absolutely should have. That would have been...
Hypothetical. If Big Z had declared for the draft after the Georgia game, he would be picked in what slot?
Top 5. Easily.
-2. There'd be a bidding war on him before the draft even started.
He would be more coveted than Victor.
Yes, he would be.
Moving forward to the actual ball game itself, if DJ Wagner is healthy, that makes Kentucky so hard to guard. Kentucky's already so hard to guard because they have so many scoring options. They scored 91 points against Florida. The only issue is they allowed 94.
So I actually think Justin Edwards will be a better NBA player than he is a college player. I still my thoughts on him as an NBA prospect are independent from what I think of him as a college basketball player at Kentucky. But we said at the beginning of the year that we didn't really like the fit. That's kind of shown this year. But at what point do you just I'm not saying don't play the guy like I said with L.
I mean, he didn't play in the last game.
He was hurt.
Yeah.
But at what point, if he's healthy, do you just limit his minutes? Because you have better options. That's undeniable.
I mean, he only played 23, 13, 16, 22. That's not a ton of minutes.
Is he still starting for them?
Yes. Well, he didn't start against Arkansas.
Okay.
But the key is now that Adu Chero is back, and that's Kentucky's biggest swing piece, in my opinion. He is the most impactful defensive player on this Kentucky team. And I love him. I think he's so long. He's so athletic. He's so strong. He does so many things. I mean, according to Ken Pom, he grew 2 inches and put on 20 pounds this summer.
Some Jake Stevens type stuff.
Yeah. We got Jake Stevens type stuff going on here. But, I mean, since the return of Ugana Onyenso, I think Kentucky's been a much better team on the glass. Rob Dillingham does a lot of things. Reed Shepherd does a lot of things, including make a lot of shots. Reed Shepherd, by the way, is still shooting 54% from 3.
Down from 57%.
It's February 3rd. He's shooting 54% from 3.
Down from 57%. I think the haters won this one, Sam.
The whole thing with Reed Shepherd was at some point it's going to slow down, right? Isn't it going to slow down at some point?
Mm-hmm.
It just hasn't.
Also, he'll hit him from way behind the line too. So It's not like just like running him off the 3-point line will work.
No, he's so impressive. He might.
By
just
the
be
way,
most
Kentucky this year
surprising.
231st in offensive rebounding percentage. They lose someone that like affected that.
I think they did.
But I thought he sucked. I thought he was bad.
Yeah,
I thought he clogged up the lane.
He made their team worse.
Oh, turns out their defense is actually worse when he's not there. Interesting.
It's Kentucky fans are the only fan base that could see a guy win National Player of the Year and say that their team stinks.
And then almost win it again.
He would have probably won it if it weren't for the big Canadian man.
Actual analysis of this game.
Yeah, it took us 5 minutes to get to actual analysis.
I think Tennessee is going to be really thrilled that they're out of the muck that was the South Carolina game, and they'll be fine playing at Kentucky's pace. Tennessee actually likes to play faster than you would normally see a Rick Barnes team play, like a lot faster. They're 41st in average possession length on offense. So I think Tennessee will be fine playing a transition basketball game. I think it'll be high scoring. And at the end of the day, like I think Tennessee's veteran presence in Rupp Arena and their physicality could end up being the difference here.
I agree. I like this Tennessee team a lot because I think that they score because they can. And I've said this all year long. Dalton Connect is the best bucket getter in college basketball. We talked about fuck you scorers before the season.
Dalton
Connect is the best fuck you scorer maybe since Marcus Howard.
Yeah.
Like
Marcus Howard. Would you call Marcus Howard a fuck you scorer?
Yes. The dude could drop 50 like at the drop of a hat.
I'd call him a fuck you shooter in the second half of seasons.
Would you call Miles Powell a fuck you scorer?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. Who else would you call a fuck you scorer? I mean, Trey
Uros Plavsic.
Uros Plavsic is just a fuck you. He's not
maybe a fuck you puncher.
No, he's just a fuck you. All right, moving back to the game. Dalton Connect is so electric, and the fact of the matter is the Rupp Arena camera angle makes it really interesting to watch the spacing of this Kentucky team. And I honestly think that the spacing of this Kentucky team allows this Tennessee team to play a lot better on the defensive side of the ball. Sorry, on the offensive side of the ball, because the game will be at such a fast pace.
Yeah.
If Tennessee wants to play fast, they will be able to.
Mm-hmm.
And if Tennessee is able to hit shots, and we know that they can, and even 2 years ago, Zakai Ziegler would come into games. Zakai Ziegler's freshman year, he would come into games when Tennessee wanted to push the pace, when they wanted to move away from Kennedy Chandler and push the ball. They now have that. They have Dalton Connect. They have they have plenty of depth. You can get Jordan Gainey on the floor, and he can push. Meshack can push a little bit. Obviously, Vescovy can hit shots, and Josiah Jordan-James is kind of the only guy on the team that I look at and say, all right, that's not a guy that you really want to run the floor with.
Mm-hmm.
I just think that this Tennessee team is built to win games like this, and this Kentucky team is just straight up not built to win these types of big games. I don't think this Kentucky team can stop a nosebleed if the nosebleed's name was Dalton Connect.
Also, want to point out, Jonas Adu has been so good this year that like Tennessee has a guy with a 124 offensive rating in their rotation that like can't get on the floor in some games. That's Tobe Awaka, who's been good. The opportunity hasn't been there yet, and Jonas Adu is only a junior.
Yeah, no, I think Awaka's fine.
Yeah, remember what I said to you in the offseason? I'm like, I don't know how Tobe Awaka is going to get so good that I don't know how they're going to keep him off the floor. Well, turns out Jonas Adu also got that good.
Yep.
That's how they keep him off the floor.
Do you have anything else? What's your prediction for this game?
I'll go Tennessee pulls away late in Rupp by a score of 78-71.
I say Tennessee 83-77. I could see it going to overtime, Tennessee winning 90-83.
Getting 2 predictions in there.
No, the second prediction doesn't count.
Okay, your words, not mine.
There's another really big game tomorrow. You've got... Where is it? Or is that game Sunday? Okay, that game's Sunday.
Wisconsin, Purdue?
We'll talk about it tomorrow.
Okay.
I kind of just want to rapid fire through the rest of the games because, like...
Oh, dude, Ken Pom got the score exactly right of a game tonight.
Oh, Akron-Toledo?
Yeah, did you see that?
Shouts to Enrique Freeman, MAC Player of the Year.
Sure.
By the way, shouts to Malik Mack, 18 points, 6 assists as Harvard came back from a 20-point deficit. Just ho-hum. Just basic stuff for a freshman. Totally normal freshman things.
Oh my god, I'm kind of like catching up on all the scores tonight. Did Dartmouth end up winning that game?
No.
Oh, they didn't. Princeton, now in 3rd place in the Ivy League.
Yeah.
I lied. They were in 3rd place entering tonight.
Shouts to Danny Wolf. 21 points, 12 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 blocks. He's awesome. I did not watch a second of the Iowa-Ohio State game.
If I was home, I had no interest.
And I did not.
Mizzou men's versus women's team. Who wins? Kevin, what is wrong with you, dude?
How many points does Borma Jock score in that game?
Oh, dude, he'd be the best player on the floor. He is the best player on the floor. We might need to start a Mabor Majak counter soon. Not yet, but like we might need to do it soon.
Shouts to Dakota LaFew.
I'll take the women's team though to answer that question.
34 points, 8 rebounds, 6 assists, a block, and 3 steals. Mount St. Mary's 76, Marist 58. Shouts to Greg Gordon, 35 points, 12 rebounds, 2 assists, 3 blocks, 2 steals as Iona beat Fairfield 91-82. Shouts to Juju Watkins, USC.
I saw that. That's nuts.
51 points of USC's 67 on the road against a top 5 team.
Yeah, I saw her, like, she shot great. Like, it was, I saw that. I saw your tweet and I went and looked at it and I'd like audibly gasped.
Freak stuff. She is a freshman. She's 18 years old.
Yep. So we're going to go rapid fire through these games now?
Yeah. All right. Iowa State and Baylor.
Interesting one. Baylor's a team that hasn't been playing all that great. They've lost 3 of their last 4. Nearly took a loss in Orlando to UCF earlier this week, but managed to snap their losing streak there. Iowa State kind of still having to prove that they can play away from Hilton. They won at TCU. They lost at BYU, lost at Oklahoma. This will be their 4th road game in conference. Their 5th on the season. They did get a win over the Fighting Tony Stubblefields in DePaul earlier this season.
Sorry, no. They allowed 80 points to the Fighting Tony Stubblefields. I don't think we can call it a win.
Good offensive team at home. Don't doubt them.
Who, DePaul?
I'm gonna, yeah.
By the way, you know what DePaul currently ranks in KenPom?
295, right?
Yep. That is 5 spots lower than the Fighting Kenny Payne's ranked last year.
Yeah, I was going to say that's lower than Louisville was last year. That's impressive. You really have to try to rank that low as a high major in KenPom.
At least this one fired their coach.
Yeah, I mean,
like, they have an excuse.
Who knows? Maybe Louisville gets Trenton Flowers back and goes on a run.
I don't think he's got eligibility.
Probably not. But then again, Big Z has eligibility. Sometimes all it takes is a billboard. Sometimes all it takes is a billboard, Sam.
All it takes is a billboard.
I'll take Iowa State here.
I am.
This is more my disliking of Baylor than it is my liking of Iowa State.
I can't do that. I just can't. I can't pick Iowa State against a really good team away from Hilton.
All right.
UConn hosting St. John's at Madison Square Garden.
I think I was a little bit overrating the St. John's team.
Really?
Yeah, and I know like they've had some injuries and stuff like that, but like after they won at Villanova and they got that 3-game winning streak where they beat Butler, Villanova, and then Providence, I think I was overrating them a little bit. They've lost 4 of their last 5. A couple of them have not really been all that close.
Well, the Seton Hall game was not Pitino.
I know. And the loss at Xavier is a killer, though.
I was disappointed with that performance, but if there's one thing a Pitino team can do, it's bounce back. They will fight UConn to hell and back in this game. I don't see this game being like a smacking for UConn. Now, St. John can't smack them either. It's just going to be a rock fight, like an old-fashioned Big East game. Both teams don't like each other. These coaches don't like each other. I think it might be the first time these coaches are ever meeting. But they don't like each other. They've traded jabs. Actually, sorry, second time. They met earlier this year.
Yeah.
But these coaches have traded jabs in the media. They don't like each other. And this could be a really chippy game. I think UConn wins like 70-67.
It's one thing I do like about both of these coaches. They'll say anything. Like, they'll literally say anything.
Yeah. No, these two coaches have no filter.
Danny Hurley is not afraid to take a shot at somebody. And Rick Pitino, as we found out earlier this year, is not afraid to threaten either.
He's not a... I think Rick Pitino's words ring a little shallow when you listen to them over and over again. It's the same bits. Like, he's playing the hits. It's the same stuff that he said at Iona.
See, I wasn't like... He wasn't... We wouldn't see those quotes on Twitter. Like obviously you would because you covered him. But, like, I wouldn't see those quotes on Twitter when he was at Iona. Like,
no, he didn't say, I want to kill myself when we lose. He didn't say that last year, but like, it's the constant downplaying of like his team saying we're not there, like we're just not good, like this guy stinks at this guy didn't do that. Like, it's just the constant ragging of the players and just like the showing of we're at like a 3, we need to be at like a 7, yada yada. You know, like,
yeah. One of those coaches that you think like how does anyone want to play for him? And then you realize, like, yeah, I would absolutely play for this dude.
I don't think I would play for Rick Pitino.
See, I'd like to think that I would, but I also stopped playing organized basketball in 6th grade, so
like,
I don't really know.
If I were built for it, sure. Like, I'm just not built for that.
I was coached for 5 years in baseball by Scott Lidskin. That's comparable to Rick Pitino on some levels. He yelled at me a lot.
Levels?
He yelled at me a lot. I could handle it.
Okay.
I did not handle it well.
So, the other storyline with this game is it is at Madison Square Garden. And it's going to be at Madison Square Garden for the foreseeable future because the Big East is not going to allow St. John's to play UConn at Carnesecca. They're just not. Pitino came out after the Hofstra game and was like, oh, we're going to play UConn at Carnesecca next year. Comes up with the fantastic excuse that it's for Louis Carnesecca's 100th birthday. You could play any other team.
Is the reason the Big East stepped in here because the arena is just too small?
Not necessarily the arena's too small. Just they're going to sell out Madison Square Garden. And that brings in money. Ratings. It's an important game.
I feel like Pitino is like... I feel like Pitino will kind of just say anything about, like, playing someone.
No, Pitino says anything.
Like, remember when it came out in like October that they were going to play Duke at like Arthur Ashe? What happened to that?
I don't know. I actually want to see what's going to happen to that. That would be fun, though. I want to see that.
I have a feeling this might be Pitino just like saying some stuff.
I don't think Pitino said that.
I thought he did. I could be mistaken.
I think it was like just a random Rothstein tweet.
Oh, well, that's good. All right, what else? I'll take UConn here, by the way.
St. Mary's Gonzaga.
Yes.
I think this is the last one we're going to go over.
Sam, I've taken 2 road teams so far in our picks. Well, I lied. We've previewed, not including Duke UNC, we've previewed 5 games on this show. I've taken the road team in 4 of them. I'm taking another road team. I'm taking St. Mary's.
Me too.
I think they've just been playing, nothing against Gonzaga. I just think St. Mary's has been playing really, really good basketball. St.
Mary's going to win this game. We're going to put them in the top 25 again.
What was the tweet about them on Thursday? It was like, maybe you didn't see it. It was something along the lines of like, I love it when St. Mary's just decides that you're done scoring for the night.
Yeah.
I forget who tweeted it, so apologies for not getting credit, but it was very good. Made me chuckle.
They are so good defensively. They're the number 13 defense in the country. They're the number 1 defense in the conference. They're the number 1 offense in the conference. I still can't believe they allowed 28 points last week to Pacific.
Yeah, that's unbelievable.
Do you know how many points Pacific's leading scorer had in that game?
7.
7.
Bang.
Was that a guess?
I didn't know that. That was a guess.
Do you know how many St. Mary's players had 7 or more? It's 7.
Wow. I got some trivia time for you, Sam.
Okay.
Over the last month, from January 3rd to February 3rd, St. Mary's, according to Mr. Bart, Mr. Torvik, is the 8th best team in the country. Name the 7 above them.
Over last month?
Yeah.
Houston.
Correct. They're number 1.
Tennessee.
Incorrect. They're actually 1 spot below St. Mary's at 9.
Okay. Purdue.
They're number 3.
Auburn.
It's actually pronounced Auburn now, but I'll give it to you. Number 4.
North Carolina.
6.
Michigan State?
No. They are down at 24.
Oh, wow.
You're missing number 2, number 5,
Dayton.
and number 7.
Dayton.
Dayton is not. They are 17th.
Alabama?
Alabama is not. They are 19th.
Is it UConn?
UConn is number 2.
Ah, man, I forgot that Klingon got back like 3 weeks ago at this point.
Yeah. You're missing number 5 and number 7. One of these won't surprise you. One of them might. And it's not because the team's bad. It's just because
Iowa State.
Iowa State's number 7. That was the one I didn't think would surprise you. Number 5, I think will surprise you a little bit. Not because we think the team is bad, but because we think they've been playing really bad.
Kentucky?
No. Oh, God, dude. Where is Kentucky? Hold on. 36th.
Baylor?
No. Baylor is... I cannot find them.
I don't know. Who is it?
It's Arizona.
Wow.
Yeah, right? I thought they'd been playing terrible.
Terrible is an overstatement. They've just taken some tough losses. They also,
by the way, Bradley Braves, number 13, 1 spot below Kansas. Shout out Brian Wardle.
Is Bradley better than Kansas? Could
People are
Bradley walk into Fog Allen Fieldhouse?
Oh, they could do it.
They could walk into Fog Allen Fieldhouse. Now they walk out with an L, but they could walk in.
Kansas hasn't seen Malavai Leons before.
Yeah, I mean, there's nobody like Malavai Leons in college basketball. He is
as much as I love Mr. Furphy, Connor Hickman would run circles around him.
Like, I was genuinely just like thinking about like potential like players that Syracuse could target in the transfer portal this year, and I was like, man, if there was someone like Malavai Leons who had eligibility left, like that would be perfect.
Oh, there's nobody like Malavai Leons.
All right, who's his Ken Pom most comparable player?
You can do that?
You didn't know this was a thing?
How did I not know about this?
Have you never gone to a player's Ken Pom page?
No, I have plenty of times. Did it probably 8 times today.
Look at it says similar.
Where?
It said. Do you not see this? I'll share my screen.
Oh, I see it. Hold on. Dude, I've never looked at this.
You've never seen that.
Oh, dude, Jamal Shed. Apparently very similar to 2015 TJ McConnell.
All right.
Hold on. Before we answer this Malavai Leon's question.
It doesn't matter. It's Banja Sai from New Mexico State.
You ever heard of Tony Meyer?
No.
From
Jeff Goodman just tweeted out final Kansas 71, Houston 65 in the manager's game.
Tony Meyer, never heard of him. From Wildwood, Missouri, played at Milwaukee for 4 years.
Yeah, no chance.
Why would I be bringing him up?
Most comparable player to Johnny Furphy?
Yep.
That was pretty obvious.
This is fun.
You're not gonna stop texting me these all night. I know.
Oh, dude, when I find someone that's comparable to VJ Beachum, it's over.
All right. I think we're about done here.
Yeah, I think that's our show.
Jonathan, you want to take us home?
Yeah, let's do it. If you came to hear about Tyler Self's employment, where he's currently working, came to the right place. You came to hear about the Mizzou men's and the Mizzou women's teams facing off against each other, and you came to the right place. And if you came to hear about Caleb Grill and what is going on in his life, well, you came to the right place. This is Brackets, Bubbles, and Bid Steelers, Season 4, Episode 40. We will see you tomorrow night.